Hi there, my name is Val and I would like to do this video and tell my story. I had major surgery just 2.5 years ago, open heart surgery to repair a aneurysm in my aorta, and multiple arteries were blocked. And yeah, so I'm going to share my story in hopes that I can meet other people that have gone through, heart and stroke, heart attack, stroke. Open heart surgery, major traumas like I have. So, thanks for joining me, and hopefully, I can help others with my story and my survival, as well as learn about your survival. So, we'll start right from the back, like beginning of everything. Summer of 2016, I started experiencing different medical things with my body and that. And, I had extremely high blood pressure. I was limping when I tried to do anything strenuous. I couldn't swim without losing my breath. My left leg was really bad. So I was going to the doctor, and I lived in a small town. I was 46 at the time, so they said it was back problems, sciatic nerve, this and that. Um, Not sure now why my blood pressure was not treated right. My blood pressure would spike to 220 over 100, and crazy numbers for me. But given my lifestyle. I worked really hard. I smoked very heavy for 30 years and everything. So, and high blood pressure was also in my family. So just, it's unfortunate that we didn't catch that in time because, yeah, I ended up I ended up demanding a test and asking for a second opinion because I knew something was wrong with my body. And I just, went from working really hard and doing so much to just so drained. Like, literally, I couldn't get 2 rows in my backyard without almost passing out. So I demanded a test, and I think that was probably around July, August of 2016. And they did an x ray at my local hospital. Um, So they said, well, something did show up on that x-ray in your lower stomach, is kind of how they said it. And they called it a blood pocket. Oh, well, I had had a hysterectomy about 4 months prior. So I said, oh, I think she might even suggested this could have been something from a surgery, but they didn't know. So I thought, well, maybe it's just a blood pocket. People get that after a surgery. Maybe this is what it is. So they said, well, we're going to send you for an ultrasound in the city, into Brandon, Manitoba, because I lived in Manitoba then. So it was September of 2016. I went to the hospital for my ultrasound, and I worked. I lived out of town, so I was getting ready. I'd stopped at a grocery store, and I was getting ready to head to work. Um, and my phone rang, and the doctors or nurse, I can't exactly remember, said, you need to come back to the hospital because we actually did find something that's that doesn't look right, type of thing. Kind of explained it a bit. Something in my aorta. I can't remember that phone call totally. So, anyways, back to the hospital I go that day, and I have to work at 3 o'clock, and by then it's like 1 o'clock. So, called into work, said something was happening. Won't be making it. Blah blah blah, and so I went into work. Or sorry, I went to the hospital, and they came up and they said, something's not right. Look, we need to do this CT scan. Blah blah blah. Immediately, I went into emergency CT. I met a few doctors that I had never met before in the emergency there. They asked me a few questions about, what I've been treated for, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, I've been having a really bad leg pain and this and that. Well, so long story short, the CT scan came back that day. Showed a very large aneurysm in the center of my aorta, as well as pretty much almost every artery in my body was blocked. And funny story, crazy, because I was so blocked for a few months, my body actually rerouted an artery to my heart. Crazy, but what the body can do when it's sick and fighting is amazing. So that's why I didn't have a heart attack or stroke at the time, because it found its way to my heart. So they shows it on the tests and X-rays and stuff I had. So that's that. Calling the family. We got to do this. We got to figure out this. They do a few tests. They've checked me out. Don't know what to do. So from there, well, we have to figure something out. So I go home, try and process it all, and I get a new doctor because maybe I was misdiagnosed for too long at where I was at. So I get a new doctor in the city, and he's great. So he takes my case over. Things aren't looking good. They discussed it with a few different medical professionals and decided that, like, what do we do with her? She has a very aggressive aneurysm, and the positioning it was in was not good. I think it was like lower. Yeah, it was lower, middle lower, and all these arteries blocked. So what do? We can't open her up and do aneurysm surgery with the artery issue, and there was no blood flow to my left leg. That was the other thing we found out. And we can't repair all these arteries with an aneurysm. And so initial diagnosis wasn't the best. Kind of basically said, well, there's nothing we can do. And I was like, I'm 46 years old. There's something we have to do. So anyways, next step was heading to Winnipeg to meet with different surgeons and stuff like that. So I met with, I think it was 3 in total different surgeons at, I believe they were all through St. Boniface Hospital in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And throwing that shout out there to the amazing staff at that place. And they just sat together, the 2 surgeons. Now I'm not going to name surgeons or anything right now. And they decided, called me in and said, you know what, there's this surgery. My main surgeon, the aneurysm surgeon and everything, he said I had done this surgery, or he hadn't done it or seen it done, but never in Canada. So if I chose to have this type of surgery, I would be the first, I believe is what he said. So him and another surgeon went together, and they said, okay, we're going to do a thoracotomy and open her up. We're going to, I thought at that time they removed an aneurysm. They don't actually remove it. They just graft it and repair it. They did the aneurysm, or I don't really know because I haven't read my surgery report, what they did first. And they repaired. I had reconstruction of multiple arteries and blockage in my left side and that. So that was that. They said, well, it's a very risky surgery. Sign here, sign here, sign here. Because, you could have a stroke, you could have a heart attack, you could do this, that. So well, let's do her. So then I go back home, meet with my doctor, and, I spend a couple months waiting for all the prep and everything, and having, you have to have all types of tests. And to make sure you can go in for the surgery. So that's that. And my doctor was like, you need to do your will. You need to get things in place, Val. Like, he made me feel shitty. As much as I loved that doctor, he just didn't have hope. So that was that. I said, well, I'm doing it. Like, I'm not going to just sit back and wait for my body to shut down. Like, I'm not waiting for this aneurysm to go, or the arteries to give me a stroke or heart attack or whatever. If I have a chance to do this, I'm going to do it. So anyways, I got through Christmas and everything. My surgery was scheduled for March 1st, 2017. I think it was 14 hours was the estimated time. went in the night before. Don't remember anything from a week or so prior or anything because of what ended up happening. So I did lose a lot of memory pre-op of saying, having my family around me and stuff. I just not there. So anyways, I went in for surgery probably in the morning. I don't know, 9, probably 8, 7, whatever it was. Anyways, I don't know. Apparently, not apparently, well, it happened. Things didn't go great during my surgery, and they sewed me up. And after they sewed me up, I bled out. So they had to open me back up and find the bleed and repair it and blah blah blah. And then at that point I flatlined, and well, we find out later that I did have a massive stroke, but we didn't know that at the time. But I had a heart attack, flatline, had to be resuscitated, and because of all the trauma and everything with my body, what happened was I swelled up, sorry, and they had to leave me for a few days in a big tent with my body, with my organs on the outside. It's all real. I got the receipts, don't you worry, and the scars to prove it. Anyways, so that was that. I don't know exactly. I'm still piecing together the actual story of when I started remembering and what happened. So I was in intensive care for a few days or a week or something. It took me a few days, they said, to start responding to voices around me, and that they basically said to my kids, one of the things was she's going to be paraplegic and she'll probably never walk or anything again, so get things in place because she's probably not going to be going home. She'll be going into a home or care center or whatnot. And vision was not expected to return. There's a whole bunch of things. So anyways, one of my first memories was listening to people talk around me, and so they were saying to my daughter that I was never going to walk, and I shook my leg, and my daughter was like, she moved her leg. What's going on? So at that point, they kind of kicked that surgeon or whatever doctor out of the room and stuff because the stuff he said shouldn't have been said at that point because they didn't know of how much I was going to recover. So let's move ahead. I start coming to, I'm still piecing stuff because I did have delirium, so I'm still piecing stuff together with whether or not it happened or when it happened or time frames, which I would like to get it all ready because I would like to write a book. So they basically said to my family, we're going to take the tubes out and just let's see. Is she going to breathe on her own? Is she going to respond? What's going to happen? All along, nobody's really thinking that like the best outcome for me. So they took the tubes out, and well, here I am 2.5 years later. I've had a very long struggle. I found out also when they done through the MRIs afterwards, once I was stable enough to go, that I did suffer a massive stroke, multiple strokes. I don't know how it works when you have a massive stroke. 2 went into my brain and 1 hit my spine. And the spine has been the biggest battle of recovery and everything with walking and sitting and doing things. So I do have some medical aids to help me, a cane and a walker and a bath lift, and I've done a lot of therapy and a lot of fighting to get where I am, to be sitting right here. But that's another video I would like to talk about more. And oh yeah, and my surgery in total, I think it was 23 hours in total was my surgery. My family said it was a full day before I came out of the surgery room. And then I was in recovery after that even. And I think only immediate family, my kids and maybe my sister and brothers, I don't know. But yeah, so that is my story about surviving major open heart surgery and trauma. And I just want to reach out to other people about it. And, I want to talk to other people and hear their stories. I've met a few people with crazy, survival and everything, and it's just your life changes, and that's kind of what I want to focus on, is the differences in my life now, and like how I wake up, I have gratitude every day. Like, I am so grateful to be able to see my kids and grandchildren and family and live life to the fullest. And so we'll chat soon.